how you going? So today on Big House Sport, we are back for week 2 of In the Sheds. If you weren't here for last week's In the Sheds, basically it's a podcast where we talk about 3 different sports each week. Then we also get a bit of an open floor discussion going. I am here with Shells and Fletch as we were last week. Those are my 2 co-hosts. But every week we've got something new happening. So every week we're going to be having one of you guys, the BK Army. We're going to have a new person come onto the show each week. This week we've got Archie, who messaged into the Big House Sport Facebook page and, was interested in jumping in the chat. We've actually got quite a few people who were interested to message the page, so if you guys want to be in one of these, you need to message the Big House Sport Facebook page or leave a comment down below that you want to join in, as long as you can speak basically all different sports. This week we're going to be talking about some NRL, we're going to be talking about the Premier League, and we're also going to be talking about the NBA playoff. Alrighty guys, so like I said, we've got Fletch and Shells here from last week, the 2 old regular big dogs.
Yeah, the boys.
And then also we've got Archie over there, who is a fan of Big House Sport and said that he wanted to join in. So, you know what, like I said, if you guys want to be like Archie, message in the page and we'll get you on. Just for a little bit of a different discussion points from people who, because these boys, Fletch and Shells, don't have a clue how to talk about the NBA.
I go for Celtics, and I hope Rajon Rondo has had a good season.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Stop it. Stop it. Anyway, yes, that's a good thing. So, Archie, did you say hello?
No, g'day boys.
Welcome, big fella. Anyway, let's get into the first discussion, which is the NRL. Firstly, boys, I'm just going to go through the scores, and then afterwards we'll go through each individual game. So first off, we have the Bulldogs and the Roosters 6-0. Then we've got the Warriors 20, the Dragons 12. Broncos 20, Storm 34, so the Storm got a decent win there. Then we've got the Rabbitohs taking it out over the Raiders 42-22. The Tigers lost to the Knights 22-20 in an absolute thriller that went down to the wire there. The Cowboys got one over the Titans back in form 26-14. The Eels get their first win of the season, boys, 44-10 over Manly. And the Sharkies, they got a good win against the Panthers 26-22 down there at Shark Park. Anyway, let's talk about the first game, the Bulldogs-Roosters. Not that I really want to talk about it because it was a low-scoring, absolute bore fest. What do you guys have to say about that game? I honestly, for me, I want a refund on the 80 minutes of my life that I wasted watching that dribble.
I didn't watch it. I was actually out with the boys, so thank God I missed that one. Not much to say. Just, it's going to be a boring NRL game if it's 6-0 usually. So.
Yeah.
Anyone go for the Roosters or Doggies?
Nah.
Oh, no.
I was telling Blaze over on mine that I left at about 10 minutes, came back at about 60, expecting to see, a scoreline, and just came back to 6-0.
What I thought was, yes, for one, both teams' ball control was shocking. 2, the Dogs just simply don't know how to attack. They were arguably the worst. They're arguably the worst team for attack in the whole competition. Even when Latrell was in the bin for the Roosters, which was very debatable, sin binning obviously as well, they were still pretty pathetic. And then the only kind of highlight that I had for the Dogs was that number 6, that Jeremy Marshall King. I think he's a little bit of a sneaky little player there. I think he was their only highlight. What do you reckon?
I only watched a couple minutes of the game. I got bored shitless, so I
Yeah,
turned it off.
Yeah, that's it.
Latrell Mitchell needs to play Origin, but...
Yeah, that's one thing I saw. Latrell Mitchell, he's a great player, but he's just so inconsistent.
Is Tedesco worth the money?
He's up and he's down,
if he can play that well every week, he's going to be one of the best players in the league for sure in a few years.
All right, and just before we move on, Tedesco, is he worth the money?
Yes.
We'll see. When it comes final season, we'll see.
Yeah.
They have so many new guys in that team. It's going to take a bit for them to all gel together. Like, let's give them a bit longer than 6 games.
Should Tedesco play Origin?
Yeah.
He should, but I don't think his form at the moment warrants it.
Yeah.
But then again, who else is going to take the fullback's position for the Blues?
Could be Josh Dugan or Matt Duffy.
Dugan played well against the Panthers.
Yeah. Wait, let's wait for that recap. But firstly, Dragons and Warriors.
Yeah, look, on the Warriors Dragons game, I was obviously vlogging the Broncos versus Storm game as well. But when I watched the highlights, there was no Sean Johnson for the Warriors, which is quite big, and they still got a decent win. Dragons had 61% possession, 13 penalties to 5. They didn't have a sin bin, and they still lost. What are your thoughts?
What's his name? What's his name? The halfback. He's
Hunt.
no for the Warriors side. He's a backup. He's like a little.
You're not talking about Blake Green, are you?
No, he's the backup halfback, the guy that came in for Sean Johnson.
I think it was. Is it Mason Lino?
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
He's a good player. Like he can play.
Yeah, they rate him, don't they? Wasn't he playing
came
there
in
last
against
week?
the Roosters, and he played really good.
The thing is that the big question from this game is, yes, they were both undefeated for quite a while, for 6 games or whatever. Then the Warriors lost to the Broncos in a bit of a shock there, and then the Dragons have obviously lost to the Warriors. My main question with these two is, are they actually serious contenders? The Warriors and the Dragons aren't known to be there come finals, especially Dragons. They usually start off well and then fall apart just like last year. And
I can't say them being contenders for the premiership.
Dragons.
Are you talking Dragons, Archie?
Dragons or Warriors? Because I see the Dragons. I'll be honest. I haven't seen many Warriors games. I haven't seen many Warriors games, but I've seen a lot of Dragons games, even though I'm a Shark supporter, and they look pretty red hot, to be honest. I'll be honest, their halves, Widdop and Hunt, look real good.
Yeah.
Like
Widdop's best half in the league this season, I reckon.
Dufty.
Maloney's pretty up there.
He's putting his hand up. Dufty is putting his hand. He reminds me of Billy Slater, Matt Dufty. He really does the pace. Just the sheer pace. They do a lot of what the old Storm team does, chip and chase over the top, out of nowhere. I think it's when they play the Titans, Blaze. They kick for Dufty.
Oh, they absolutely annihilated the Titans by their kicking game.
He got there a mile ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
Look. Me of the old Storm team. Yeah.
I agree with
Dragons making top 4, but I can honestly imagine Warriors dropping out of the top 8.
I agree. I agree based on the fact that the thing is the Warriors, this is a weird season for them because usually they start off really bad and then they make it up at the end of the season. But this season they've started off really well. I don't know. I think they actually may kind of fall apart when it comes to the end of the season. But I think they will have gotten enough wins by the end of the season to remain in the 8.
Yeah.
But they're not doing anything in finals.
I don't think they're doing anything in finals. I think maybe next year they could if they put a bit of consistency together. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a difficult task to say they're going to win the comp. And it's funny that we say that because this is the 2 teams that are top of the ladder right now that we're talking about that aren't going to make a push.
Yeah.
So I think
I haven't seen many Warriors games, but I think you got to give a bit of respect. They were said to, everyone was thinking possibly wooden spoon, and now they're first, second, and I don't know. Dragons for me, just the attack power for the Dragons is just
Dragons are looking solid.
Ridiculous, to be honest. Yeah, it's real solid. Like
Their spine is just.
Yeah, they look like going in every time. They look like scoring every game, every time they go up there.
I just think this team is really well-rounded, and I know you guys can't see it right now, but I'm actually moving my hands quite a bit to kind of... Because I'm just excited about this Dragons team. I think that they won't do as well. They're not going to win the minor premiership or anything, but I think they're definitely going to be up there.
Pack should be in the Blues side. Vaughan, DeBellin, Frizzell should all
I
be
couldn't
starting.
agree more.
Yeah, but we all know that Fafita's going to be there.
Fafita has pledged to Tonga, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he has. Yeah. You've proven me wrong. Yeah, correct. I stand corrected.
I've never seen anyone run the ball harder than Tyson Frizzell.
Yeah. Let's move off that game. Now we've got the Broncos and Storm. Storm obviously got a little bit of a controversial try there through the Billy Slater drop kick.
I say Billy Slater admitted at halftime to Brad Fittler and at the end of the game that he thought he dropped it.
No.
And on the
You forget. He actually did it on the spot. He said it once he put the ball down, he didn't want to high-five any of his teammates. And then after the try was actually given on the video ref or the bunker, whatever, he still disagreed with it.
I don't know. They just love Billy. Billy Slater is 34, almost 35.
And still killing it. And still obliterated the Broncos' defense.
The pace. He's still got the pace. That's like what Joey said, that Joey Johns. He's got the pace. He's got the pace, like the speed off the mark. He just goes through them. If you look at
the couple of tries that the Storm scored early on, the Broncos' wing defense is actually, I personally feel the Broncos, and Fletcher's a Broncos fan here, so he'll be able to potentially back me up here, but I think the Broncos' wing defense is absolutely abysmal. Their center defense up through the middle, it's quite decent, but at the wings, they got actually destroyed by Josh Adokar and Suliasu Vunivalu.
The last try, Will Chambers over Corey Oates. Geez, that was soft.
Yeah.
That was a
And
bit soft, wasn't it? It was just too easy.
This is a bit off topic, but I saw Oates at the game. Every single set, one set, boys, hold them out, one set. And he said it on that try. He's like, one set, boys, and he just gets pumped straight over. And it's like...
Do you reckon the Broncos are carrying some injuries? Because everyone thinks Darius Boyd's carrying some injuries. Corey Oates has been injured quite a bit.
They are carrying injuries, but I don't think it's. I don't really think it's affecting the results too much. I think that no matter what, this Broncos team just. Sorry to say it, they're quite an average team right now. They're not something that's going to be pushing for the top 4. They're around that kind of middle of the pack team.
To see Jack Bird not play that well.
He was all right though against the Storm.
Like he's got way more bulk on him, doesn't he? He doesn't look like a center. He looks like a back rower now.
Yeah, look, I think that the Broncos actually played better than the scores suggested. Like I said, wing defense terrible.
They could Milford. God, what a try!
What a try! But he was pretty average throughout the game.
Yeah, the thing with Milford
stays at 7.
He's I reckon he's an unbelievable player. The try scored, the kick, and getting behind. But then he let the ball stay in the field. He wanted it to go dead, and then Vunivalu got to it, and it was just it's so up and down.
If you had seen my Broncos vs Storm vlog that I put up, I called that try before Vunivalu was even anywhere close to that. You could just tell that was going to happen. Speaking of really bad defensive teams, let's move on to the Rabbitohs versus Raiders. I personally feel that, for one, the Raiders have the worst defense in the league. They have one of the better attacking teams in the league, but they're one of the worst defensive teams, if not the worst defensive teams in the league. How good's Ricky Stewart, boys?
I don't know what's going on at Canberra, to be honest.
Ricky Stewart's going on, mate.
It's a bit shit house, to say the least. It is pretty bad. The Rabbitohs, GI just keeps going, eh?
He just keeps going.
Just keeps going.
I mean, let's not forget, Rabbitohs have been decent on attacking this season. Like, they've got a couple big scores.
Yeah, they have.
They smash Manly.
And people forget as well. People forget.
Dragons.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, people forget they nearly beat the Dragons, and also they were up 14-0 against the Rabbits in the first game. No, sorry, not the Rabbits. That's the Rabbits. They were up 14-0 over the Panthers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
they have a good attack. Yeah.
They've taken the structure out of their attack. They're just playing off their forwards and just killing it.
Who is the hook? Is it Dylan Cook?
Damien Cook.
Rabbitohs for Rabbitohs.
Damien Cook.
Damien Cook. That's it. He needs to play Origin.
I think he will. Oh well, there is Cameron McInnes though for the Drags.
Yeah, that's a good point, but
Damien Cook could be great off the bench for them. Last 20, just come in and run for the Blues.
No, he reminds me of Michael Ennis. Like, he just gets those easy meters from dummy half. He needs to play.
Yeah.
How many times have we lost? Really, we need to just. I don't know.
That's a good call. I just want to say that in regards to the Raiders, yes, I'm not taking away from the Rabbitohs. They have a really solid attack. But in regards to the Raiders, and I'm going to go in for Ricky Stewart here. Everyone on my channel knows that I'm not a big fan of Ricky Stewart. Look at how he's gone. He failed at the Sharks. He had one good season, then failed. He drove him into the ground. He had one good season with Parramatta, then drove him into the ground. He had a decent season with the New South Wales team, and then drove him into the ground. Now he's at the Raiders. Look, he had a really good season in 2016, got really close, and then he's driven him into the ground. Why are teams still making this guy coach? I don't understand. He's honestly driving teams into, like, implosion.
16 was a great year. Their attack was on fire.
Yeah.
And then they've just fallen off and don't know where they're going to go.
They're such a good attacking team. Like, Aiden Caesar.
Leilua's on the team.
Well, yeah, Leilua's there. There's got Jordan Rapana.
Yeah.
Their team is that.
Caesar.
Yeah, Caesar. Their forwards are the biggest forward pack in the league, arguably. Even though Shannon Boyd might be actually leaving the club, but anyway, that's a topic for a whole different discussion. The Raiders.
Shannon Boyd on leaving the club. Jared Wallace could be coming to the Broncos. Could be coming back to the Broncos.
Let's move on from that. So yeah, basically Raiders' defense is abysmal, but their attack is good. So most teams are having to score at least 24 points, 26 points to win the game, and they're doing that because the Raiders' defense is just so bad. Besides Parramatta, but you know that's Parramatta.
Go to next one. Tigers 20, Knights 22.
What a game.
Is Pierce's injury bigger than the actual win?
I rate the
Yes.
Tigers. I rate the Tigers. Even though they lost, I rate them.
I don't know.
I'm feeling a Benji special.
Yeah, I think Benji's really, yeah, we spoke about this. Benji really is a player. We spoke about this on Fletcher's previews, but Benji really is a player that has transformed this team and provided an old head with the young team that they've really needed for years now. The Tigers have really needed someone like Benji for years after he left because they've just got such a young team and he really brings them all into line. But I don't believe that they've got the team to make the 8 this year, and it's funny because they're coming 4th. I just think they've had a really good start to the season. I think they're going to kind of fall apart a bit. I still think they've got a quality team, but I don't know, the Tigers aren't the big story here. The Knights are the big story here. They've lost Mitchell Pearce. They've lost their direction. Are they still...
Is he gone for a while?
He's out for 4 months with a pectoral injury.
This season.
How many torn pecs have there been in the NRL lately? There's just been so many pec tears. Like, I don't know what it is. It just seems to be a lot of just really bad injuries. ACLs, pec tears, broken jaws. Like, just really... you can't really do much, broken jaw, can't really stop that. But all these injuries, I don't know, there just seems to be a lot of injury, because injuries change the season.
Yep.
They really do. Like Cowboys last year, they lost Jonathan Thurston, but, they made the grand final. But, if the Knights get another injury, say if a Ponga gets injured or something, that's the season really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, actually, speaking of Ponga, he is not meant to be... he should not be taking kicks. He should not be taking the conversions for them. He got 1 from 4.
20 out. They were like 20 out and it was like missing them. It's like, even I could get that.
Well, yes. Kalen just... CO ended up taking over in the end, and he ended up missing the kick as well, but that was from really far out. That was when Sean Kennedy-Dow slotted the winner in the end. But Kalen Ponga just doesn't have it when it comes to kicking. He had an absolute atrocious day, and
He's only 19, though.
he is only 19. He is only 19. But in the same sense, his kicking just wasn't up to standards. Speaking of good kickers, though, let's move on to the Cowboys versus Titans game. We've got Jonathan Thurston over there. And obviously where Kalen Ponga came from. Cowboys got the win 26-14, back on track. But is the Gold Coast back to being kind of the same old Titans, where they promise so much, but they don't end up delivering?
I don't think so, honestly. Because at the start of the season, Cowboys were... I think they were second or maybe even first favourites to win the premiership.
I tipped him in my
They've had
preseason
bad
predictions.
Starts. No one's really rating them that much at the moment. But they are one of the best teams in the league. And
Yeah.
Tamalolo, I reckon, is the best player in the league last season. So I don't think this is same old Titans. I think it's just because they're playing one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think that's a really good call. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a Titans fan here. I think that, we played really... I think we didn't actually play as badly as the score suggested, and we did kind of make a little bit of a comeback in the end, but I just think that we let the game get away from us too early and then couldn't make up the ground, and then when we finally started putting points on, the game was already dead and buried. The Cowboys are, like I said, in the preseason predictions video that I did in January, I tipped the Cowboys to win the comp. I'm still tipping the Cowboys to make the 8, even though they're second last right now, but there's still a long way to go in the season. They're still an opportunity to win this league. Let's not lie here. They're still an opportunity. They've still got, like you said, one of the best teams on paper, the best team on the field. They've just had a really bad run of form. If they've gotten rid of that form now, then that's looking good for the rest of the season for them.
Can I just say something about the Cowboys? I remember when they played Penrith, and I think it was Fisher Harris from Penrith. I think he was purposely told to just destroy Jonathan Thurston because he destroyed him. And I just think that teams are just really getting under the Cowboys' skin. Yeah, they haven't won that many games, but I think last year everyone's just gone, okay, they made it so far. They're just going to really work out how to beat them. And, there's luck involved and just, things don't go your way. But Cowboys could come back into it. We're only 7-8 games in, so, there's a lot of football.
Lot of
I
football
see
to play.
him definitely making the 8.
Yeah.
I can't see him missing it.
I see the Tigers making the 8. So
Well, that's not as much of a bold prediction because they're obviously top 4. I see them missing the 8, but I think maybe just because I think there's just so many teams that are fine for that 8. I think that even though there's that loss, the Titans are still a pretty decent team. I don't know if they're going to make the 8 this season, but next season maybe. The Rabbitohs are going to be there. The Tigers, the Knights are even going to be there. I don't think they'll make the 8. There's heaps of teams that are going to be vying for that. The Sharks. Panthers will be kind of more upwards, but there's a lot of teams vying for that 8. Boys, let's move on to the Eels versus Manly game. 44-10 to the Eels. This is just like, what is going on?
So let's just so firstly, Manly beat the Eels
54-0.
54-0. Yes, Manly beat the Eels 54-0 a few weeks ago.
About a month, yeah.
Pardon you. And Eels have now beat them 44-10. And Manly just get hammered sometimes. The Rabbitohs hammered them. Tigers smashed them last week. Now it's
Titans scored 32 points on them.
What is Manly Trebojeviches?
I think I think it's to do with the whole Cherry Evans Hastings issue at the moment and also the salary cap dramas that they're going through. But if you look at their last 3 games, they've conceded 102 points in 3 games.
Oh, God.
And that's to the Titans, the Tigers, and the Parramatta.
You can't win games like that. I just think Manly have a lot of good players like Tupou, Cherry Evans, the Trebojeviches, and just... I don't know what is going on at the club. Who's the defense coach? It's just...
I think Gustafson for Parramatta has been really integral to them as captain has really changed that team.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
There's no underestimating him. He was out for the first 5-6 weeks, so he's just come back in for the last 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. He's a solid player, very reliable. I just think, what do Manly have to do? There's a big rethink at Brookvale, isn't there, about who should be starting for that club?
Yeah, there's a lot up in the air. They'll never win. Then I'm not going to say never. They're not going to win the wooden spoon this year, but they're going to be down the bottom end of the table.
Who do you guys think is going to win spoon this year?
I can't see the Eels getting it. I think they've got a decent enough team to push out of that spot. Manly aren't going to get it. I think Canberra. Yeah, I think Canberra. I think Canberra will get it.
I can see Eels pushing for the 8. Honestly, they won't make it. I don't think.
I think that they'll come about 11th.
I'm an Eels fan, but I can see them.
I think so.
Look, no. Here, last year, the Panthers lost 2 from 10 to start the season, and they just snuck in.
I don't think they'll sneak in, but I reckon.
Yeah, there's too many teams vying for that top 8 position to sneak in. But anyway, let's move on to the last game of the round, which is the Sharks versus the Panthers. Sharkies got a decent win there. Are the Sharks a top 8 team? Let's not ask Luke here because he's going to say yes straight away.
I'll be honest. I do think they are, but they need to really sort out the injury problems. There's just too many people missing.
Graham, Gallen, Lewis.
I think Wade Graham comes back.
That's their entire second row.
Yeah, no, the whole entire front and second row was pretty much done last week. For Fafita, Gallen, Graham.
Well, Fafita played, didn't he?
So that was just ridiculous. Lewis went off really early, which was just like, what's going on? Should he have been playing? Kind of didn't even look like much. Gallen comes back in 5-6 weeks. Graham back next week. How good was Scott Sorensen? But I think Cronulla, Jesse Ramian, he's good, but he drops the ball too much.
He scored a couple of tries though, didn't he?
He drops the ball sometimes too much. But overall, they took the foot off the gas, and they just scraped away. It's classic Cronulla. Maloney had a good game, I thought, to be honest.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Maloney Moylan thing for a second. Maloney has definitely been the Panthers have definitely been the winner for the trade so far this season. But in regards to the game, the Sharks versus Panthers game, Moylan actually played better in the game on the weekend.
Yeah, Moylan wanted it. Moylan played. I was actually very impressed. Matt Moylan is very good ball distributor, very good pass for the ball. I'll give him that.
He just doesn't have that good hands to hold on to the ball.
Yeah, in terms of everything, he's 26, Maloney's 31. I didn't want to get rid of Maloney. He's a great kicker. He's a great goal kicker. His kicking game's awesome. He's just an all-round good player, good experience. Played Origin, won a competition. But Matt Moylan, he can turn it on when he wants.
Yeah.
But Fafita had a really good game. The offload game from Andrew Fafita. We've been waiting for that for how long?
He's just too inconsistent for Fafita.
Yeah.
On his day, he's the best front rower in the league, but he's just way too inconsistent.
When Andrew Fafita wants to play, the Sharks win.
Yeah, 100%. But the thing is that what most people are forgetting about this game, and that I think the Sharks well and truly deserved this victory, but the Sharks very nearly choked it all away in the end. They conceded 2 tries in the last 5 minutes.
It's classic Cronulla. Yeah, it's classic
Yeah, that was
Cronulla.
very close.
Dugan needs to stay fullback. Valentine Holmes just needs to stay winger. He scores tries. He scores points when he's out there. He shouldn't be playing fullback. I know he wants to play fullback, but dude, you're scoring tries. Just stay out there.
He's not a fullback.
Yeah, Penrith, they had some people out, but so did Cronulla. I know Cronulla just seemed like they wanted to win more.
Yeah.
That was my kind of take on the game. They just really, really, really wanted to win this one.
Let's leave it at that for the NRL. That's gonna wrap up the NRL section. Let's move on to the second discussion of In the Sheds, and we're going to get to the Premier League, which is football over in England for those who aren't aware. Let's go through the scores first. Brighton 1, Tottenham 1, Bournemouth 0, Manchester United 2, Chelsea 2, Burnley 1, West Brom 2, Liverpool 2, Leicester City 0, Southampton 0, Watford 0, Crystal Palace 0. Geez, a couple of 0-0s there. Arsenal 4, West Ham 1, Stoke 1, Burnley 1, and then Manchester City 5, Swansea 0. Now, boys, let's start off with the Brighton-Tottenham game. Spurs are leaving the door open for a Chelsea top 4 finish.
Choking again.
Oh, God, they always choke.
Again, and
They
they're
really
doing it
do
to
that.
Chelsea.
Tottenham, I'll be honest, I go for Man United, but Tottenham have really, really good team. I think the English FA should be thanking Pochettino for bringing up a lot of great English players, Harry Kane, Dele Alli.
Here's a controversial topic. Harry Kane has been linked with Manchester City.
Everyone's bloody linked with Manchester
They don't
City.
need him. They've got Jesus
And Aguero, yeah.
Sane can
Well,
play striker.
If they buy Harry Kane, that's basically, see you later Aguero, really, isn't it?
Well, no, well,
He's getting on a bit, Aguero, to be fair.
he is getting on a little bit, Sergio.
Sergio Aguero is the best striker, in my opinion, in the league on his day.
Oh, 100%.
He's had a lot of injury problems.
He gets injured too much. Yeah, Aguero. Yeah, I know Kane is ridiculous and stuff, but if you talk about like the last 5 years of Premier League, like Harry Kane obviously is right up there as well. It's basically Aguero and Kane together.
Yeah.
But Aguero.
And
minutes per goal. Aguero, he just scored.
yeah.
All the time.
To be fair, though, he is surrounded by the absolute best talent.
Yeah, I do think the best striker in the league on their day is probably Harry Kane right now, just because the last 3 years he has been that guy.
He's a lot. Yeah, well, he is the only outlet for goals at Tottenham. At Manchester City,
I would like to see Eriksen score more for them.
yeah, but look, if you look at it, at Manchester City, the outlets that can score is anyone really. You got Sterling, you got Sane, you got Aguero, you've got Silva even. You've just got so much like a plethora. Then you got Gabriel Jesus, Kevin De Bruyne. Then you look at Tottenham. It's only really Harry Kane. it's really only Harry Kane. Yeah, Heung-min Son, yes, he does score a couple. But if you look at it, Harry Kane is the only thing.
So many good players. Tottenham have so many good players, but they choke it all the time.
And I think that's part of the reason why Tottenham could even miss out on the top 4 this year. It's just they've got no goals from anywhere else on the pitch other than Kane.
Manchester United 2-0 over Bournemouth. United are holding on to that second place. over Liverpool.
Also mentioned Man United also lost against West Brom 1-0.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild.
But we won't talk about that. Yeah, Man United, if they don't win the FA Cup, it's a very disappointing season.
Well, isn't Chelsea in the FA Cup final with them?
Money they've spent with Mourinho there.
Oh, but no. Mourinho apparently hasn't spent enough. He doesn't get enough money, he says.
Oh yeah, of course.
Look, there is no Paul Scholes player anymore. I'm going to say, I don't care. We know about Sir Alex. He hasn't been there. There's no, you know how Real Madrid with the Galacticos, they had Zidane, and Man United had Paul Scholes, and Juventus had Pirlo.
Liverpool had Gerrard.
Liverpool had Gerrard. Chelsea had Frank Lampard. That guy in the middle, they just don't have it, Manchester United. I know how they have Paul Pogba there.
Do any teams have that player though? Like Liverpool doesn't have a Gerrard.
Oh, Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh, Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne for City. I'd say Tottenham have Eriksen.
He's not even close to the level of a Gerrard.
But they have that guy that is the feeder and can actually give assists and contribute goals when you can. I don't have that player. Paul Pogba. If you look up Paul Pogba highlights for Juventus, you will sit back and go, "How's this guy not won a Ballon d'Or yet or something?" Because you just go, I know, but you just go. Some of the goals and crazy shit that he's done for Juventus. He was so good. Like he was just so good.
He should have gone to Barca. He should have never gone to Man United. Barca would have suited him.
Yeah, I think that La Liga suits him a lot better.
Paul Pogba, obviously not Ballon d'Or winner, but I'm saying as a left centre midfielder for Juventus, where it was Pirlo, and it was Marquisio, and they had Evra on the left, and Lichtsteiner right, then Vidal. God, he was just so good.
That was the year when they made the Champions League final, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he beat players for fun. Like, easily. And scored absolute bombs, very important goals, and just the skill, just easily beating players.
So let's jump on to the next game. That is a very interesting conversation because United obviously aren't the same team, and it is good to talk about how they've kind of fallen off it a little bit. But let's move on to the next game. Chelsea 2, Burnley 1. Burnley are actually in 7th. Guys, they're only 4 points off Arsenal.
Sean Dyche is one of the best managers in the league. I'm saying it. He's the best manager outside the top 6.
Yeah, look, I agree. I agree, but in regards to Chelsea, is it safe to say that Morata was a flop?
You'd be thinking that.
He's missed some sitters. Come on, missed some sitters.
He has missed some sitters.
How much did they pay for him?
Put it
too much.
Put it this way. Chelsea's before Morata, their most standard week in, week out striker.
Diego Costa.
Was Drogba.
Diego Costa.
So, you've gone from Didier Drogba, probably arguably one of the best strikers ever to play in the Premier League, to a guy that misses sitters.
Yeah, but they also had Diego Costa in between.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
He was very good that season that they won the league.
Yeah, Costa was killer for him.
Second or third in the goal.
How do you go from, Drogba, Costa, then Morata's just Morata's decent. He is, but he just misses too many.
He needs to work on his confidence.
Yeah, but look at Drogba and look at Costa before he fell apart with Antonio Conte. They're both big, strong strikers. Morata's not a big, strong striker. He's a kind of...
He's tall.
But he reminds me of a Stefan Jovetic, but a better Stefan Jovetic. But he reminds me of that kind of style player.
Drogba, and the difference between Drogba and Diego Costa and Morata. Yeah, Morata's tall and blah, blah. They had that hunger, that aggression. I want to be the best. I want to win for my club. I will dive. I will spit in people's faces mentality. And that's... That they had the aggression. Morata doesn't seem to have the hunger that Drogba wanted to win no matter what. Costa, how much controversy was he in all the time? But he won.
Still.
That's the difference. It's not the same. Hazard's very good, but I rate Hazard.
Look...
He's so inconsistent, though. Like, you say he has PFA Player of the Year seasons, and then he has like season, like just terrible season.
Inconsistency.
Solid
Inconsistency is a great.
Kante's very good still.
Inconsistency is a great word.
Best midfielder in the league.
Inconsistency is a great word, and inconsistency pretty much sums up Liverpool 2-2 with West Brom.
No. Look, we
They're
were
focused on Champions League. Let's be honest.
yeah, like they were playing a backup. I'm a Liverpool fan here, so
Yep.
we were playing a backup side. You know, with we had Joe Gomez in the team and Trent playing. Trent
Was
Alexander-Arnold.
Salah playing? Was Salah playing?
I'm not sure, but
He wants to get speaking of Salah, he got PFA Player of the Year this week, and deservingly so, I think.
easily.
Salah played, by the way. He scored one of the goals.
He's on the equal most goals scored in a Premier
Yeah,
League
because
season
I think he
with 31.
scored against West Brom.
So 31 goals he has. Cristiano Ronaldo, Alan Shearer, and Suarez are the only other players to get there. If he scores one more, he is the record holder. So that tells you how much of a season he's had so far already. There's a few games to go. He's also got 9 assists. So when I saw those stats and how influential he's been for Liverpool, I thought, yeah, he deserves it over De Bruyne probably.
And honestly, I can see Salah getting better in seasons to come because when
Yep.
you see him on the ball, he doesn't look like a world-class player, really. Like, his finishing, especially at the start, was extremely dodgy. Him dribbling with the ball, he looks a bit uncoordinated, to be honest. And just, like, some of the shots he takes and things like that, he doesn't look as skilled as some other players in the league. But he scores and he makes so many chances. Like, I can see him getting even better next season.
He's got the raw pace to go past people. He's got that X factor. It's like Mane for Liverpool. They have that speed. They can beat players. They just seem to score. They're in the right. They're just
they all play
changing.
perfectly together.
Let's move on to the Leicester City versus Southampton game. 0-0. Not much to really talk about here. Southampton are struggling to survive, though.
We're going to Liverpool.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. They used to.
If they get relegated, we'll get the last of their good players.
They used to be.
James Ward-Prowse, take your way.
Southampton used to be the best young up-and-coming team until Liverpool raided them with all their players. So
literally,
how many?
Okay, how many? Van Dijk, Mane.
Klein,
Lallana.
Lovren. He's a great player.
Jeez.
Lallana, yeah.
Honestly, that's a bit of a joke, actually, if you think about it. That is a joke.
Stop that. Ricky Lambert.
There's heaps more that I can't.
Ricky Lambert! Stop it!
6 or 7 players.
And then even other players like Schneiderlin and Wanyama going to other clubs.
All right, so another 0-0 score. Watford, Crystal Palace. Not much to speak about here as well, but Crystal Palace, they're desperate for a win, but they just failed to kind of net the ball. Both teams are still on the brink of survival relegation.
Honestly, if you can manage to stay up with Roy Hodgson as your manager, like, you must have some very decent players.
Is Benteke still there?
It's most expensive game of the year, isn't it? Most expensive game in world football. The promotion to the Premier League and staying in the Premier League.
Is Benteke still at Crystal Palace?
Who is?
Is Benteke still there?
I don't know. Isn't it Zaha play from? That's all I know.
Yeah, Zaha plays for him. I'm pretty sure Benteke still play. I'm pretty sure Christian Benteke still plays for him, but. I think they've got a couple of decent plays. They've got Johan Cabaye, they've got Zaha, they've got Townsend, Loftus-Cheek, but it just hasn't come together from this year. I don't think they're going to get relegated, but if they do, it's not really too much of a surprise.
I want Roy Hodgson to get relegated.
All right, next up we've got Arsenal 4, West Ham 1. Basically, Arsenal right now, they should just forget the season and just play for Wenger because it's his last season. They've had an illustrious history with him to an extent, and they just need to play to kind of send him out on a good note.
Definitely.
Look, everyone's putting on the waterworks now, but, you know, everyone's been Wenger out for 5 years. He says he wants to leave, and everyone goes, "Thank you so much, Arsenal."
I know.
Polite thing to do.
Yeah, I know it's a polite thing. If you've seen Arsenal fan TV, DT literally in the hospital bed saying goodbye, Wenger.
DT Ripper.
We all know what they really think. They wanted him out for ages.
Yeah.
Arsene Wenger is a legend, though. The Invincibles, obviously, the best Premier League team ever.
Probably third best manager in history, I'd say.
Third.
Premier League.
Yeah, he's definitely up there.
First is Sir Alex Ferguson. Who's
Look,
second?
I'd be going Bob Paisley first.
Okay.
In the
then
Premier
I'll
League?
take it back.
I'd go Bob Paisley. Oh no, that's not Premier League era though.
Yeah, that's what I'm
exactly.
saying. Yeah.
It's just Sir Alex Ferguson first.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Premier League
Or
era.
what about Claudio Ranieri, boys? Stoke Burnley 1-1. Pretty much see you later, Stoke. They're 4 points from safety now,
But can they do it on a goal?
Yeah.
Tuesday nights at Stoke.
Well, that's the funny thing.
Right, Stoke.
The funny thing with that statement. The funny thing with that statement is that it was so true 10 years ago.
When Rory Delap was thrown.
When Mark Hughes was their manager, that statement was 100% true.
50-meter bomb. Rory, does everyone remember that? What was his name? Jones. Kenwyn Jones.
Kenwyn Jones. Yeah, I remember him.
Would throw it literally from halfway, and they'd get a flick on and flick it in the goal. It was the best shit.
The giraffe, Peter Crouch.
Rory! You just hear it.
Yeah, Ryan Shawcross, the good old days of Ryan Shawcross breaking legs. Breaking hearts and breaking legs.
The fuck? Yeah, he needs to go. He needs to go. Last game, Man City 5.
Yeah, 5-0.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you, Man City. Next, let's...
No, just quickly. No, I'm not going to talk about Manchester City here, but let's talk about Swansea quickly. They're 4 points from relegation. Do you guys think that Swansea have a team that are deservedly... Should they go to the Championship, or... what?
They got to go down.
I'm going to have a look at who else.
Who they got up front? Fernando Lorente.
No one really does. They've got Jordan Ayew.
Yeah.
Not strong enough. Not strong enough. They've...
Not strong enough. Who's going to get promoted? Wolves going to get promoted?
Wolves, they've already won it, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wolves are there. Wolves are there. I think Cardiff are there as well. And there's like Fulham, Villa, Middlesbrough, and I think it's Millwall.
I want Aston Villa to come back with John Terry.
No.
I think the problem with the championship teams that get promoted is, we're all going to stick together and survive relegation. But some people are thinking, hey, I'm going to get signed with a mid-table Premier League team and try and get in the top 6. You know what I mean? That's what they're thinking.
Alrighty, boys. Let's wrap that up there for the discussion too with the Premier League. Move on to the final discussion, which is the NBA. We've got the playoffs. Now we're just going to go through what obviously the scores are, not the actual individual scores of each game, but just what it's over the series. The Spurs 1, Golden State Warriors 3. The Spurs kind of pulled one back today or yesterday for you guys, but they really pulled one back there. Washington Wizards 2, Toronto Raptors 2. Miami Heat 1, Philadelphia 76ers 3. New Orleans Pelicans already through 4-0. They swept the Portland Trailblazers. Then we got the Milwaukee Bucks 2, Boston Celtics 2. The Indiana Pacers 2, Cavaliers 2. Utah Jazz 2, Oklahoma City Thunder 1. And the Minnesota Timberwolves 1, Houston Rockets 2. First game, boys, not much to talk about, but could the Spurs pull out a miracle?
It's another cab story, is it? I think Golden State will wrap it up next game, probably.
Easily.
Warriors have got this. I have no idea how they...
Too good.
Even if Kawhi came back, they still wouldn't beat the Warriors.
Yeah, I think that... I agree. I think Kawhi may be off to the Lakers. I think
Golden State.
Kawhi's way too old for Golden State.
Salary cap Golden State has.
Yeah. Wizards and Raptors, this is really working out to be a really good series. Surely Toronto don't choke first round again because
Drake's not going to be happy, is he? Drake's not happy.
Drake is not happy.
Oh, no. God's plan. God's plan. Raptors 4-2.
Honestly, though, I think Washington is the better team. Like, Raptors is obviously better coach, and Washington's having huge problems with their chemistry and just playing together. But, like, John Wall is he's one of my favourite point guards in the league. I think he's wildly underrated. And Bradley Beal is a great shooting guard.
Yeah, I was about to say, I love Wall, but Beal is phenomenal.
Yeah. I think John Wall and Bradley Beal are better than
DeRozan and Lowry.
And Kyle Lowry, for sure.
That's a really good discussion point, to be honest.
It comes down to star power, and I think Wizards do have the star power here.
I actually feel that the only reason that they potentially could be better is simply because I don't rate Lowry as much as everyone else rates Lowry.
He's getting on a bit, and he's just not that athletic.
Yeah, I think that Beal and Wall complement each other quite well in a weird way. But even though DeMar and Kyle Lowry have that really good connection off the court, obviously we all know that. Despite them having a really good connection, I can see DeMar doing most of the work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
DeMar's just such a big scorer, and like, and he's doing it all from mid range. It's really incredible when you see him play.
yeah. Well, I'm still tipping the Raptors to win this series, but I think the Wizards are a better rounded team. Miami Heat 1, Philadelphia 76ers 3. The real question for me here
Simmons.
is yes, but the real question for me here is Simmons actually the main man in Philly?
Yes,
Yes.
easily.
Yes.
But everyone says that Embiid is the main man. I don't get it.
You can't.
No.
This like centers are just you don't win a championship off the center's back. Like
Yeah, no way.
it's about your forwards and your guards now. More your guards, but Simmons, I think he was playing point guard for a bit this series and that.
I definitely think that Simmons is the main man in Philly, despite everyone saying that Embiid is the main man. I think it's just because of his personality that people are thinking that.
Yeah, I think Embiid kind of comes off more as an alpha, but Simmons runs that team.
Yeah, 100%.
And all that talk about Simmons not winning Rookie of the Year because he's not technically a rookie.
That's bullshit.
If that's the only excuse you have for him not winning the Rookie of the Year, he's clearly Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm taking Philly in to win the next game 4-1.
For sure.
Yeah. Next up, we got the New Orleans Pelicans 4, Portland Trailblazers 0. They swept them in a pretty big matchup there. Last week I spoke about how these two teams love to score a lot of points. It wasn't really the last game was, but there wasn't as many points scored in this series as I thought there was going to be.
I mean, Pelicans have some great defenders on their team with Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday.
He's a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year for sure. Easily first defensive team. Anthony Davis is just a monster no matter where he's playing.
Yeah.
And they've got playoff Rondo. And a few seasons ago, Rondo was all defensive first team. Like, they have some good defenders on their team.
Speaking of that, what I love about the Pelicans is that they've got Davis, who absolutely destroys on the scoring, attacking side of things. Then you've got Drew Holiday, who is just one of the best defenders in the league right now. He's just absolutely destroying it, and he can score points as well. Then you've also got Rajon Rondo, who loves a good assist. He loves a good assist. So there's
there were so many games there where he was getting like 15 plus assists. Like, he really shows up for the playoffs. And I think it's just because he's a veteran and has so much experience. With winning championships and playoffs.
I think the Pels are really underrated. I think that if DeMarcus Cousins was there, he didn't do the injury, I think they go really well. I think they go really far in these playoffs.
If DeMarcus didn't do his Achilles, I can see them beating the Warriors either without Curry or not 100% Curry, just because they've shown how incapable they are of defending bigs.
Yeah, you know what's weird is that I'll agree with you, and that's a really weird thing to think the New Orleans Pelicans will be in the finals. You know what I mean? Like to actually win the whole conference. Like, that's just wild to think. But simply said, I love their team. I love how they're kind of going. I never thought that Cousins and Davis would work really well together because everyone kind of thought they were two similar players, but it's really worked out for them.
I was very concerned about it when DeMarcus first came.
Let's move on to the next game. Milwaukee Bucks, Boston Celtics 2-2. Antetokounmpo clutches to tie the series in the last seconds today. He honestly, he kills Boston every time he plays them.
He's just such a good player. He just scores, and he just has incredible passing and vision for like a guy his size. I think he's at least 6'10", could be a bit over. And if Milwaukee do go through to win this series like they should, it's got to be because Giannis is carrying this team on his shoulders completely, just because the chemistry of this team and the coaching has been terrible.
Yeah, look, I think Giannis is definitely he is the sole reason why this team is in the position that they are in.
Yeah.
Boston are the perfect team for him to come up against because throughout the season he's absolutely destroyed them in every game pretty much, whether they won or not. I think that without Kyrie, the Celtics are really kind of lacking in that really dominating department where they can kind of.
They just don't have that one player they can pass it to, and when they need a bucket and can get them a bucket, they just are missing that.
Yeah, exactly. Hayward as well. Yeah, like he never really got to play, but in the same sense, that's still a massive player that just hasn't really gotten his chance from. I think next year, bang. I think they're really right on top of it. But this year, no. I think Bucks are going to go
really
through.
rate Kyrie though. I think he's definitely an overrated player.
I think he's done really well for Boston, though. I think he's done really well for Boston.
When people were saying he could be an MVP at the start of the season.
No way, no way. But who are you tipping in that? Do you reckon the Bucks or Celtics go through?
You'd have to say Bucks just because they have the star player, and often that's what it comes down to. Just
fair call.
The last game, someone in the clutch to get you a bucket.
I think in a couple of years' time, if we this is a very big hypothetical, but say a couple of years' time, I think Jason Tatum really turns out to be a phenomenal player. I think if Jason Tatum was a couple of years on right now, I think that he would lead through. But obviously, it's just he's too young. Obviously.
Yeah, like he's a rookie. You cannot expect them to carry teams in the playoffs because they have no experience with it at all.
Next up, Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers, 2-2. Korver, I watched the game today. He clutched in the last moments to really seal that win in Indiana for the Cavs. You just get a feeling that the Pacers exploded out into the court and they got a good first up win, and then they got really confident. You know, they're a good team with Oladipo, but I still get the feeling that Cavs are going to move through.
Yeah, like when you have the best player in the league, you're bound to get through the first round. Just speaking about Kyle Korver, he really is one of the perfect role players in the modern NBA. Like
his 3 points are unbelievable.
He can hustle on defense. You just give him a few minutes. You give him some minutes off the bench, and he'll bank 3-pointers for you for sure.
Well, his 3 points just really come in clutch, like I said. But yeah, I'm taking the Cavs 4-3. I think it will go to Game 7.
I can see the Cavs taking the next 2 games just because LeBron will carry them. I think LeBron will carry them to the conference finals, but honestly, I can see the Young Bucks in Philadelphia pipping them. But
then again, the Cavs are the Cavs, so you can never really kind of count them out. Now, second last game, we've got the Utah Jazz 2, Oklahoma City Thunder 1. Can the Big Three pull it back?
I really don't think so. I think just Paul George, like you said before the podcast started, he's integrated well with Westbrook and kind of taken a bit more of a backseat. But Carmelo, he
hasn't gotten the rhythm.
Gel well with other players. We saw it in Denver. We saw it in New York. How much he stunted the growth of all the young guys over there, like Porzingis particularly.
He needs to be the main man, 100%.
Pointers a game, and he's bricking them. Just with how well coached the Jazz are and how much confidence they would have in themselves, I can see them going through in 6.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think. Well, I can't. It wouldn't. I think that the Thunder will. I think this could go to 7. I think that the Jazz are really defensively they're pretty sound, but Donovan Mitchell also really puts them on the attack. Rudy Gobert is amazing.
He's one of the best defenders in the league for sure.
I think the Thunder could pull it back, but to be completely honest with you, it's really up in the air, this one for me. I think that the Thunder should pull it back, and if they don't, I think that they're going to have a massive reshuffle.
Yeah, they're going to have to.
All right, moving on to the last game of the NBA. That is the Timberwolves versus the Rockets. The Wolves aren't going down without a fight, but can you see them getting over the top? I don't think so.
No, I think Rockets. I predicted before the series that Rockets would take it in 5. I still think the Rockets will take it in 5. Wolves, they're just having chemistry problems with Wiggins not wanting to be an alpha, like wanting to be a second or third guy. And Karl Anthony Towns, he got like 5 points, not last game, but the one before, I think. Just with when you have that many young guys on a roster, and I think this would be their first time making playoffs, or only their second. I cannot see them pulling it back.
I don't think the Wolves will win another game. The Wolves actually won pretty convincingly in the game they did win, but I think actually no, you know what? I think the Wolves can win another game at home, but I think Rockets will win in 6. I would think they'll win 4-2.
Man, these playoffs have been so good, just with how many possible 7-game series they could be. This is a great first round, and it's only going to get better.
100%. We'll wrap up all the discussions for now. Let's move into the open floor discussion section. Basically, this is for anything that's going on in any sport worldwide. One of you boys just suggest something and we'll kind of go about it. Whatever you think is the big talking point, I'll leave it up to you guys. What do you reckon should be the open floor discussion for this week?
Manu Ginobili is 40, almost 41 and playing playoffs. Almost
He's an
a
old fella.
20-year career.
Dude, the whole Spurs team is pretty old, man.
A sporting career is getting longer.
Sports science is also getting a lot better, you know, with health and
Sporting careers are getting older.
Honestly, I would want to say no, just because how much, with the NBA at least, not with AFL or NRL, but
NBA is getting longer. They're playing for
But-
how long can basketballers go on for? Like easily mid-30s.
it's less contact.
Yeah,
so
usually. But NBA is
True.
getting more physically demanding. Just everyone's getting bigger, so it's a bit rougher and tougher. But I think it's like it's the opposite with the AFL and the NRL. Just how bloody soft it's
Contact
getting
sports,
these days. It's ridiculous. Especially AFL, the new rules they're implementing. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the Spurs just in general, like the NBA, you can kind of go through until you're about you can go through until you're 40. Like look at Ginobili, you've got Aldridge, he's getting pretty up there. You got Patty Mills, you got Tony Parker. How old's Tony Parker?
35, 36. Dirk Nowitzki's 39.
Yeah, well, Dirk Nowitzki's
Tim Duncan
getting
played
up
until
there.
he was 40.
Yeah.
So Tim Duncan played until he was like 40 as well. So
But
Jordan was playing at how old?
Oh, 41.
I think that your statement regards to the NBA pretty much only. I think most other sports that it's actually
Soccer, I think soccer.
nah.
Because that's just not. I don't think that's a very physically demanding game. Like you have to be fit.
Yeah, but I still don't think you're going past 34, and you're anything past 32, you're really out of your prime. 31 even now.
Oh, most soccer players play till they're 36 old.
They do play until they're 36
Yeah,
old,
it
but
depends what league. There's
in
no
like
Premier
League 4 and shit, you know what I mean?
35, hardly ever.
Oh,
Hardly
a
ever.
few- there's a
Premier
few.
League, no. Premier League, no. MLS, yes. Premier League, no.
well, MLS is just built on retiring.
Yeah, MLS is built on
But
that.
you do get old players in the Premier League. Like Gerrard was getting on a bit when he was still playing.
Lampard, yeah.
Yeah, and what's the bloke from
Ibrahimovic.
United? What's his name?
Ibrahimovic.
Sorry,
Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick.
Ibrahimovic was pumping in goals.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, boys, let's jump off this. We'll finish it up there for week 2 of In the Sheds. We're going for about an hour now, so let's finish it off there. Thank you to Archie for coming on the show. Really appreciate your discussion on the NBA and just some extra insight.
No worries, mate.
no worries.
And thanks to Fletch and Shells, obviously. If you guys want to check out an NRL previews for this week, jump over to Fletcher's channel. He does the previews for each week, and this one's more about reviews. Check out Shells' YouTube. And Archie, do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, ARMontages. I make NBA montage videos.
There we go. If you guys love a bit of NBA montages and NBA stuff, then jump over there. See you next week, Shells and Fletch, and catch you later, everyone. See ya!